We take an in-depth look at homelessness and how it affects Albuquerque.
And also how it affects the University of New Mexico. I'm Jozelyn Escobedo.
And I'm Christine Gregorio, and this is UNM News. Often hidden, highly mobile, and characterized by a complex set of personal and social problems, homelessness is a big and difficult issue in Albuquerque. That issue has been brought to light by the recent police shootings of several homeless and mentally ill people who seem menacing to police officers. Researchers attribute much of Albuquerque's homeless problem to higher prices in public housing and lower welfare benefits. Kendra Williams has the story.
According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, homelessness is defined as a person who is staying in an emergency shelter, in transitional housing, or if the person is sleeping outside or in a place not meant for human habitation. William Miller, former UNM psychology professor, says that we shouldn't forget that homeless people are people too.
In a way, it's sort of obvious, but homeless people are people, and when you listen and when you get to know people, you escape from the stereotype that homeless people are different from us. There's something wrong with them. They like being on the streets, and there are all these things that people imagine. When you really get to know people at a person-to-person level, say, this could be me.
Since the 1970s, Albuquerque's homeless population has increased to the point where at least 1,100 individuals are affected by homelessness in a single night. William Miller says that this problem is due in part to alcohol and substance abuse.
And both of those things are fairly common in the homeless population, in part just in response to the level of suffering that comes with being homeless. Makes it more bearable in a way.
Homelessness affects a wide variety of people, from those suffering mental illness, runaways, drug abusers, those who lost their job, and even veterans.
We're now seeing families living in their car. I mean, it's unbelievable. Women and their children on the streets. It just is shocking.
The Barrett Foundation is one of many foundations around Albuquerque that is helping to reduce the homeless population. For over 25 years, the Barrett Foundation has provided hot meals, emergency shelter, and transitional and permanent housing for women and children across Albuquerque. This is Kendra Williams reporting.
When it comes to assisting people on the streets that may be homeless, it is not always easy. Help is often refused. Though it may be more cost-effective to keep people housed than on the streets, the city isn't going to force housing on anyone. Tanya Prather reports on Albuquerque's outreach for the homeless.
Paul Guerin, a senior research scientist 3 at the Institute for Social Research, says Albuquerque Heading Home, a housing program, finds chronically homeless people and brings them to housing. That's an idea everyone can support.
Both conservatives and liberals like this idea. Liberals like this idea because it's a social justice issue. Keeping people housed and keeping them safe is important. And conservatives like this idea because there might be a cost benefit. The goal of our study was to find out, is it less expensive to keep them homeless or housed? In our case, we find there's a cost savings to keeping them housed.
Guerin says there are more homeless in Albuquerque than the city is able to house. Still, the city tries hard to find out about the large homeless population.
The city, actually using volunteers, goes out into the streets in the early morning trying to find people where they might be sleeping homeless. And they might try to go find people who are, in fact, in shelters. And then they interview them, they do this vulnerability index.
But at this point, no matter how vulnerable the people are, the city's volunteers cannot force them off the streets.
So after they score someone to see how vulnerable they are, the city then goes and tries to find them again and ask them if they want housing. So it's voluntary on people's part. So they could go find someone who is in need of housing, and that person could decline the housing. So they may not want to be housed for whatever reason they might have. And so then they're going to move on to the next person.
Junction is the biggest agency for the homeless in New Mexico. taking in about 300 people a night and serving 16,000 meals each month. Joy Junction's founder, Jeremy Reynalds, says people don't choose to be homeless, but may have gone through a traumatic experience that makes it hard for them to trust anyone.
Nobody wants to be homeless. Everybody wants help. The issue is if on the surface somebody doesn't want help, what has happened in their life that has caused them to not to want help? What deep hurt, what mental health issue that maybe you're not aware of? I believe everybody wants help. You have to break through the outer layer.
Reynolds says one of his more delicate tasks is trying to bond with people on the streets who have allowed fear to keep them from seeking the help they need.
You have to form a relationship with them to get through the outer crust, to get them to develop a level of trust with you, firm enough so they feel free or able to tell you why they don't want help.
Reynolds says consistency in that bond gets some chronic homeless to keep coming back to Joy Junction.
Some of the people we've had staying here in the past 4 or 5 years have been a direct result of us forming a relationship with these folks on the streets. So when we feed them for a week, a month, a year, at the end of that time frame, when they really need a place to stay, when they're tired of living on the streets, when they've been smacked around, beaten up, got a black eye, had the heck kicked out of them, they go, oh, well, those people they house here feeding me every day, maybe I can trust them enough. Maybe they'll help me enough to, if I go to their mission, that I'll be safe.
Joy Junction offers a one-night stay for those needing a place, as well as a 9-month recovery for drug and alcohol addicts and a 6-month program for those trying to get a job. Volunteers who want to work with Albuquerque's homeless can contact the city or Joy Junction. This is Tanya Prather reporting.
In 2011, local government officials identified over 1,600 homeless people in Albuquerque, but an exact figure is hard to come by. And in the last few years, this situation has likely become worse because of high unemployment, rising rental housing costs, and the continuing effects of the recession. Luís Felipe Gomes reports that UNM researchers are trying to study the problem.
Walk on the streets, wait for a bus. And in Albuquerque, you will often find a homeless person. On some occasions, that results in confrontations, like the one that happened to UNM student Felipe Leonardo.
So I was with some friends here in this bus stop in front of the UNM hospital on a Friday night waiting for the bus when a homeless came for us and came to beg some money. We said to him that I don't have money, so he started to say offensive words for us and started to treat us and touch us.
With incidents like that being quite common, most people try avoid being around handlers and homeless street people. UNM Institute for Social Research Science, Paul Guerin, says most people feel safer if the homeless can be housed in shelters.
The issue here, though, has to be more of this idea that we're scared of homeless people. So when we see someone homeless on the street, we tend to cross the street. We tend to be scared of these people. We tend to be not so much scared of these people, but we don't like these kind of people. And so the idea here is it doesn't really matter whether we're scared of them or whether we're angry at them. The idea is regardless that if we house these people, they become less dangerous, we become less scared of them, they become more stable, and their costs reduce.
Guerin says having a large homeless population hurts the local economy because it scares off business investment. He's trying to determine why people live on the streets.
I think the city is interested in controlling the problem to the extent that they can. So the city understands that they don't cause people to be homeless. So people become homeless for all sorts of reasons. So they don't cause that to happen. But the city does know that they pay for this.
Guerin is optimistic that with more information, government will be able to address the problem by providing the right kinds of remedies.
My belief in terms of some of the things that need to be done to decrease the number of people homeless is exactly projects like this. So we need to better know, we don't know right now how many people are homeless. So we need to better understand how many people are homeless and the reasons that they're homeless. And then we need to provide them housing, and then we need to provide services so that they get treatment for those issues they have. So it may be mental health, it may be substance abuse. For some people it's just simply employment. So hard times have caused them to be chronically homeless. So if we can train them, we can give them employment, these people become less of a burden on the system and more beneficial for us.
The joint efforts between the university research and the government might begin to give some answers to Albuquerque's difficult homeless questions. This is Luís Felipe Gomes reporting.
Police Chief Cathy Guimond is retiring in June after 18 years with the University New Mexico Police Department. The recent shootings of homeless people by the Albuquerque Police Department have also raised concerns about the number of homeless who frequent the UNM campus. Hayley Mitchell talked to Guimond about how UNM PD deals with individuals who appear to be homeless.
Cathy Ghuman says with UNM's open campus, it's not surprising that homeless people often find their way there.
Homelessness, unfortunately, seems to be growing, and it's a problem not just in the university community and the university area, it's a problem throughout the city.
Ghuman says UNM PD officers often recognize the non-students who come around the campus.
It's not unusual that we know some of the homeless who frequent here all the time, actually on a first-name basis.
With so many street people around UNM, Ghuman says the officers do what they can to protect the campus.
Our job basically is to keep the campus safe. What we look at is do they have business? Does anybody who comes to campus, do they have business with the university? And if they don't have business, then they really do need to move on. We've got policies against camping on campus.
Ghuman says they have officers checking around 70 buildings every night to make sure nobody is camping inside.
The key is about being respectful, but recognizing that our job is to keep everybody safe and secure, and sometimes that means asking people who don't have business here to leave.
This is Hayley Mitchell reporting.
Reporter Hayley Mitchell joins us today. Hi, Hayley.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So UNM is located in a very urban location, very close to downtown Albuquerque. Do you think this affects the amount of homeless people that UNM PD sees on campus?
I definitely think it affects the amount of homeless people that are on campus, mainly because there's a lot of homeless shelters downtown, and UNM is a big open campus, so oftentimes homeless people feel comfortable there. And so yeah, UNM PD have to deal with that, which is sometimes challenging because they don't know how to get them off campus, and sometimes they don't comply, which can raise a lot of issues.
Do you think this is a concern for student safety, especially students that live on campus?
Yeah, for sure, because a lot of times people who have night classes, they don't feel comfortable walking home to their car or walking back to the dorms, and especially for women, people sometimes get scared, but you can always call the UNM PD at any time, and they can always assist you to your car if necessary.
And Cathy Guimond is leaving UNMPD after 18 years. What does this mean to the UNMPD department?
I think it's going to definitely affect the way that UNMPD runs, because she's had so much experience with the UNMPD, and but she has a lot of plans to do after retiring. I know she's looking forward to that. So
awesome. Well, thank you for joining us,
Hayley.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. All right, Christine, are you ready for the end of the semester?
I'm ready. A couple more and then I'll be done. How about you?
I'm as ready as I can be.
Yes, almost done, everybody. And wish you good luck and a good rest of your semester, and we'll see you soon.
Good luck on those finals.